What was the first game you played obsessively?
Let's see. Probably Habbo Hotel. But, I mean, I guess technically that's a game. But if you want something that's not like a social game for it to count, probably Runes of Magic, which was my first, like, real foray into MMOs, and that really sunk its teeth into me.
Are there any games that have influenced you creatively?
Probably, but I can't really think of any. I mean, where I'm an animator by trade, I'm sure I've seen something in a game somewhere and put it into some of my work whenever I can. But I can't think of any specific examples that have done that. It's just I'm sure I've done it at least once.
Who did you play games with growing up?
Mostly my brother for the first couple of years, and then by the time I got a little older, it was really just games by myself. And then once I hit like high school, then it's like the high school clique. Back to the MMO thing, that's where playing MMOs with your high school friends. I didn't really make any like online friends, It's always people I knew in the real world.
Who do you play games with now?
A lot of the same people, to be honest. The only addition is now I actually have made online friends, not through gaming, or at least not through video games. I've made friends through RPGs, like tabletop RPGs, playing them online, and I play games with them.
Have you ever used cheat codes?
Oh, absolutely. I miss the days when there were cheat codes. We don't really have them anymore. I mean, I don't think I've played through a session of Grand Theft Auto without cheating. Everyone cheated in Grand Theft Auto. Never my first run through on a game, though. Except Grand Theft Auto.
Have you ever purchased a strategy guide?
Yep, I have. I've only bought one, and it was the guide for Final Fantasy IX. And it was a bad guide. Almost everything was like, hey, to find out more, go to this website. And the whole point of me buying the physical book was so that I wouldn't have to go to the website, because I had either dial-up or no internet at the time, and just the one family computer. So that was it's just not going to happen for me to constantly check a website for Final Fantasy IX stuff.
Are there any games that you own multiple copies of?
Yes. A lot of the big hits on PlayStation 2 were re-released on PlayStation 3. Prince of Persia, Devil May Cry, Jak and Daxter were re-released on PS3, and I bought them there too. Uncharted was re-released for the PS4. I bought them there too. Any game that I really like, I'll buy it again. Binding of Isaac, I own 2 copies of, a console copy and a PC copy. Considering buying a 3rd copy for the Switch, but haven't quite got there yet.
What is the rarest or most expensive game in your collection?
Well, technically it holds no value anymore, as its rarity has been diminished after they unearthed a bunch of copies in, I think, the New Mexico desert. But I do own a copy of E.T. for the Atari. I've held on to that since I was a young child. Yeah. This. Well, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. It's dirty as hell. It's a hell of a lot older than me. 1982. I was born in 92. And that just kind of happened to be a part of my childhood. It wasn't like someone held on to it for 10 years and then passed it down to me to be like, this is worth money. It was, I just had a box of Atari games for some reason when I was a child, and that was in it. And when we were getting to the age of throwing it out, I don't even know if I knew the game was rare. I wanted to keep it. I must have known. Like, why would I only keep that game? But I've kept it ever since. So now I guess it's rare. It's not really valuable anymore. But yeah, I think that.
That's pretty neat.
What game do you regret buying the most?
X-Blades for the PS3. One look at the box art will tell you exactly why me at age 15 would buy this game. But it didn't take very long for me to immediately regret it. That game is not good. It plays bad. I can't say anything good about it. Even looking at the box art nowadays, I just have to shake my head at my past horny self.
Have you ever attended a midnight release or waited in line for hours?
I did for both the PlayStation 4 and Uncharted 3. Those are the 2 times I have gone to a midnight release for anything. With Uncharted 3, I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time. She was not too fond of that. And for the PlayStation 4, that one I'll always remember because I was the only one in the store who had also pre-ordered Knack.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
I like Knack.
Have you ever made new friends from playing video games?
Not technically, no. Back to the tabletop RPGs, yes. Video games, no. I definitely haven't. Even when I'm playing online games, I'm pretty introverted, so I don't really talk to anybody. Now, unless you mean, did I become friends through talking to people about video games? Absolutely. My first date with my partner, I brought up Kingdom Hearts. And the fact that didn't end the date, it's a pretty good sign.
Have you ever been picked on for liking video games?
Probably, but who the hell cares at this point? If I was, it was so minor that I don't remember. I'm sure someone made fun of me for being a nerd. They were right.
Is there a game that you haven't played that everyone else has?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of those. The first one that comes to mind is like Red Dead Redemption 2. Everyone got pretty hot on that game. I've never touched it. Oh, Grand Theft Auto 5, I guess same developer. I've never touched that game either. But that's more like things the public as a whole was big on, and not so much my friends, because I don't really care what the public's playing. But if all my friends are playing something and I'm not, then you kind of feel left out, right? The closest thing would be a lot of my friends like Minecraft, and I don't care about Minecraft. But I don't really feel left out, because I'm an adult. I'll just play something else, it's fine.
What is your favorite video game music?
That's a tough one. Probably a Final Fantasy soundtrack. They're all good. To pick one, I'll be hyper specific and say Final Fantasy IX Eternal Harvest. That song gets me weirdly emotional. I don't really know why, but the most recent time I was listening to it, I had feelings, you know? So I'm gonna pick that as the best video game music.
If you had to get a game-related tattoo, what would it be?
Probably Kingdom Hearts, maybe Binding of Isaac. I feel like Isaac is a little easier. There's a lot of like symbols and stuff in that game you could go with that you could kind of be covert about it. I'm not really a tattoo person. But I do think it would be funny if I got something like one of the Kingdom Hearts box arts as like a whole back tattoo, but never told anybody.
What is your favorite game to play with your friends?
Damn, that's a tough one. Fortnite is probably pretty high on that list. I mean, I can enjoy that game by myself, but it's better with friends. I've recently been playing through the entire Digimon franchise, like every game that was released in North America. Playing that with some friends, that is significantly more fun with friends than it is by yourself. Those games are not super great on their own. Also, I've been playing a lot of Valorant with a different group of friends, and that's pretty fun too. Really, just playing games with friends is a good time.
Have you ever lost a friend over a video game?
Yes. Yes, I have. I had a friend, elementary, middle school, I don't remember the exact age or time. He stole my copy of Pokemon Yellow and never talked to him again. And I still think about that. So, it's affected me deeply.
Would you date someone that hates gaming?
I mean, I have in the past, and it went fine. Like people do not have to have all of your interests. If someone doesn't like gaming, and you do, that's fine. Just don't expect them to play games, and they, in turn, can't expect you to just stop doing a hobby you enjoy. So, yeah, I probably would. Again. Well, I hope not again. Thing I got going pretty well right now. So, yeah, hopefully I don't have to do it again.
What is your favorite handheld console?
I never had many of these growing up, so I'll say the Switch. It's a pretty easy answer. It could be better, sure. Had a PSP, had a Game Boy Advance SP. That thing is pretty cool back in the day, but I don't really care about picking it up now. I still play the Switch though, so I guess the Switch.
What game do you know like the back of your hand?
Maybe Uncharted 1 through 3. It helps that those games are a little shorter. So I've memorized most of the stuff in those games. Probably should say Binding of Isaac, but that's just not true. I regularly forget what items do in that game, despite how long I've played it. Super Punch-Out! That game, I don't play for years, maybe even a decade at a time. And that's... enemy attack patterns is still all up in here, so... I guess that's probably a good answer. Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo.
What game did you dislike or didn't understand as a kid, but changed your mind when you were older?
Probably just RPGs in general. I played Final Fantasy VII when I was pretty young and thought it was boring and dumb and bad and just anything a young, dumb kid would say. But now I love RPGs. They're probably my favorite genre, so... No game in particular. I guess 7, because I now think Final Fantasy VII's pretty good. It's a pretty good game. I know that's a bold stance to take.
Do you wear any game-related clothing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not a ton. I've got a Bugsnax shirt. It's a very nice shirt. It's nice blue. I like it. And also Bugsnax is a good game. And I've got 2 Binding of Isaac t-shirts that I got for buying the card game. Oh, no, I also have a TF2 shirt. I haven't worn that in a while. But I do own it.
What game have you logged the most playtime in?
Oh, that's easy. It's Binding of Isaac. I've logged over 1,400 hours of Binding of Isaac. I've played that game a lot.
What was your first Pokemon game?
Pokemon Yellow, which I mentioned earlier, getting stolen. Totally didn't account for me never playing a Pokemon game again for almost 20 years.
Were you ever an arcade player?
Not really. I think I'm a little too young for arcades. They aren't really a thing anymore. Sometimes you luck out, you might go to a bar and they've got a couple machines, or you go to a convention, they've got an arcade room, and I'll play them there, but I wouldn't say I'm an arcade player, you know.
Ever form any gaming rivalries?
What does that even mean? Like, did I have one person that I was always competitive with? No? It seems like a weird thing to do.
Is there any game that can make your blood boil?
3 games come to mind immediately, and I'll go from least angry to angriest. So lately been playing Valorant, an online team-based shooter, and when I die, which I guess part of that's on me, I shouldn't have died, but when I see teammates doing shit they're not supposed to be doing, the anger go up. Not a ton, but I can feel it. Number 2, Binding of Isaac. I've definitely gotten close to throwing a controller. I'll grip it real hard and I'll think about throwing it, but I'm not actually going to do it. It's when you've got like the perfect run going and something dumb, usually your own fault, gets you killed. That'll get me angry. The angriest is probably when I play the EA UFC games, specifically 1 or 2, because I never bought 3 or 4. I actually was playing 2 again for the first time in quite a while, pretty recently, and oh boy, I got boiling. That the AI in that game is bad. It seems like when you're playing a game against the AI, if you don't do it perfectly, no matter how well you do, the judging system that they have built in the game is just wrong. I get really into that game, so that gets me real mad.
Have you ever participated in a video game tournament?
The only tournament I've ever taken part in is a DDR tournament, which I placed pretty badly in because the way they did the scoring was bad. They only looked at your final score, but didn't take into account difficulty. Back in the day, I was an avid DDR dancer. I was definitely that kid who would go to the DDR machines in public and try to show off. It really just took one person saying I looked cool to cement me doing that long after DDR was still hip. But anyway, I went in and I was playing on expert and I did okay. I got the end grade was a B or something. But my opponent had gotten an A plus, or I don't remember if there's A pluses, an A or an S. But they were playing on beginner. So they won. And that kind of turned me off video game tournaments entirely for a while.
What is your gaming setup?
Not really know how to describe that with words, so here's pictures, I guess. This is my typical computer setup here. And this is my couch and my PlayStation and just most of the other consoles. It's a living room. It's not a crazy setup. It's fine.
How many consoles do you own?
That's a good question. Let's go back to that picture. The PS3, the PS4 that's in the bedroom, the Switch is in the bedroom, PS5's in the living room, the Wii U is in the living room, GameCube's in the living room. Is the N64 in the living room? 7? I think 7.
Have you played a game that was based on your favorite show, movie, or comic?
Have I played games based off a show, movie, or comic? Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people have. Have I played any based off of my favorite? Not really. Those Batman Arkham games are pretty good, and I like Batman. But it's not like they're covering my favorite Batman arc or anything, so I don't know if that really counts.
Do either of your parents play video games?
My mom's never touched anything since pinball was popular, and my dad actually played games quite a bit. I kind of would credit him with why I got into them in the first place. He had pretty decent taste back in the Super Nintendo N64 days, but once he switched to PC, he just would play free download shovelware like Chicken Invaders.
Ever work in a game store or have a favorite game store?
I worked electronics for Target. It's the closest I come to personally working in a game store. I think that counts. I actually like that job quite a bit. The favorite game store? Not really. The only one I would go to often would be just the EB Games. but it was nothing special. It was just my only option.
Have you ever shed actual blood, sweat, or tears over a game?
Yes, all three, but they would be different games. Blood, Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo. There's a Jeep level, if I remember, where you like had to hold down one of the buttons, and my friend and I just could not beat that level. And I was holding down the gas for the Jeep for so long on so many attempts that I'd gotten like this disgusting bloody pus blister on my thumb. Sweat, probably DDR. I think that's kind of an unfair answer, but I would hope you're not sweating playing any other type of game other than like a fitness game. Tears? Oh yeah, tons of games have made me cry. I'm a big softie. The only one I can really say without spoiling anything is I definitely got a little emotional when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, and just looking at the title screen got me a little teary-eyed.
What is the worst game you have ever played?
I mean, that's kind of a hard question, because I've played some, like, real bottom-of-the-barrel trash. Some games are bad on purpose, or some games are someone who has, like, no experience, so I feel like you should almost not judge them on the same level. I could say one of the worst games I've played is... I had to write the title down because I'm never going to remember it off the top of my head. Scrimmy Bingus and the Krungy Spingus Family Deluxe Edition. That game was pretty bad, but I don't think that should be judged in the same way as like a bad AAA game would be judged. So if I'm talking main releases, the worst game I've ever played? Damn. Digimon Kart Racer for the Game Boy Advance was not good. That's the game that comes to mind the most.
Are there any games that you are ashamed to admit that you enjoy?
No, not really. I mean, that comes from being an adult, I think. I don't really care what I'm into. You like what you like, you know? Now, there are some games I'm kind of embarrassed to say I don't like, but that's a different story.
What game would you love to see get a sequel?
That is a tough one. I'm gonna say The Order 1886. I know not many people were huge on that game. In fact, I'm the only person that I'm aware of, that I know, that has even played the game. And while it is 70% cutscenes, I'd be curious to see what they could do with the sequel, to see if they can, add more game to the video game. While my interest in that game has waned over the last couple of years, I would say The Order 1886 is probably the only one I can think of.
What do you think of VR motion controls?
I think they can be pretty damn cool, especially when used in conjunction with each other. I mean, some of the VR games I've played when using motion controls are the most, completely zoned in, nothing else in the world exists, into a video game, and I think that was a really cool experience. I mean, I lost hours to Job Simulator on the PSVR. I just got super into it. Same with the Batman game.
What genre are you not able to get into?
Probably fighting games. I mean, I can play them with friends if we're all having kind of a laugh, but as a whole, I've tried a couple times to get into fighting games, and I just can't do it. It's not in me.
What game started your path as a gamer?
Probably Kingdom Hearts, if I'm being honest. Growing up, I played a lot of games because they were in the house and my dad played them and my older brother played them. Looking back, I don't really think I was that much of a gamer until Kingdom Hearts came out. And then I had friends who were like, you need to play this game. And then I had people that I could go to school the next day and talk about playing it. And I think that really locked the whole thing in for me.
Have you ever played games when you should have been concentrating on something else?
I'm sure I've done it a ton growing up with avoiding homework, but even pretty recently, like within the last year. I know I was playing Fortnite while I was clocked into work once, and definitely was taken off guard when I got called into a meeting. It was not that they caught me playing Fortnite, by the way. It was just I had a work related meeting that I forgot I had because I was playing Fortnite.
Do you like relaxing games?
Oh. Oh. Who doesn't? Any type of game where you can just like chill out is a good time. Everyone needs to relax every now and again, and games are a pretty good way to do it. Games like A Short Hike are really relaxing. Back when I was playing Harvest Moon, that game would always just lull me out, put me to sleep. Not because I was bored, but it was just like chill, you know?
Do you like competitive games?
I can. As a whole, no. I used to play Overwatch competitively back in the day, but now when I play any kind of game like that, it's usually unranked, so it's not super competitive. I think it's more fun when you don't care about your winning and you're losing and your KDAs or whatever they're called. Just KDs. I don't remember. I just don't pay attention to it. I just want to have fun, you know?
How long does it take you to customize your player character?
I would say about average. Maybe above average. Actually, now that I think about it, probably way above average. Not because I think I take a ton of time. I definitely know people who spend way more time in it than I do. Because I don't really go too much into like the sculpting options. I usually just like swap out presets. The sculpting is too much time for me. But I don't think a lot of people pay any attention to character customization. So more than some people, but definitely not as much as some of the people who are really crazy about it.
In games where you can pick your class, do you tend to play the same type of character?
Yeah. I'm usually like a melee focused, often like tanky build. It's usually my go-to. Recently I've started to branch out a bit, but that remains my bread and butter.
If you were to create a game, what would it be?
Probably bad. I would actually really love to make a turn-based RPG. Make it like the old Final Fantasies, but make it really nice models, really nice animation, but just keep it turn-based. It's something I've wanted to see for a while.
Have you ever played a game for so long that you forgot to eat or sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. Kingdom Hearts 3 and Halo 3. A lot of threes.
As a kid, ever beg your parents for a game?
Nah, not really. My parents were pretty good that they'd buy me like any game I'd want for like my birthday or for Christmas, and I was pretty grateful just for that, so I didn't really beg that I can think of. It's more of a question for my mom, but I don't think she'd say any differently.
What is your opinion on DLC?
Complicated. I think everyone has seen the memes of like what games used to be and what games are now. That stuff's pretty gross. When it looks like there was content in the game that was removed and then sold to you later, gross. If it's given to you for free, I can kind of look the other way. If it's brand new content, clearly started after the game was finished development, got no problem with that. If it's day one DLC, pretty scummy, you probably cut it from the game. I used to not like cosmetic DLC when it was released day one, because that's the stuff that usually gets released the same day the game is. But after learning about production pipelines, it's like the last couple weeks of a game's development is mostly just QA, like bug fixing, stuff like that. So the art department isn't really doing anything, and you can't add it to the game at that point. Also, from back when I worked at Target, stores usually get games like 2 or 3 weeks before they actually release. So in that window of time, the art department needs work to do. Otherwise, they're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. If they're lucky, otherwise they get laid off. So if they make like some costumes, yeah, I've got no real problem with that.
Do you give in to Steam sales?
I used to, but not anymore. I mean, I'm still a sucker for a good deal, but I have better self-control than I had as a teenager, that's for sure.
Have you ever 100% completed a game?
I have. Too many to count. It's something I enjoy doing. Filling boxes to be like, that. Look, that's a thing that I can say I did. Look at that box. No one else cares about that box that I've checked off, but I did it. I don't know, makes me feel good. I think that's pretty common. The most recent game would have been Ghost of Tsushima. Currently working on 100%ing the DLC right now, and it's fun. Like I said, something I enjoy.
If you can only play 3 games for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Binding of Isaac for sure. I mean, I've already played that game for over 1,400 hours, and I've never gotten tired of it. So, safe to say that if I had to play that game forever, I could probably do it. Then I'd probably want like a big open world RPG, something that takes a ton of time to complete. Tempted to just say Ghost of Tsushima again, because I think that game's really good. And that game is a perfect mix of like chill out times, but also feeling super cool. So I'd throw that on the list. And as long as I had the controllers, I think the last game would be like Rock Band. Because sometimes you just want to rock out, you know? I miss those games. Those should come back. I'll buy a plastic guitar again.
Do you play any mobile games?
Currently, no. But have I? Yeah. I played Pokemon Cafe for quite a while. Thought that game was kind of simple, cute. I played Kingdom Hearts, Union Cross, Dark Road, whatever they want to call it these days. Got pretty into that game.
Do you trade in your games, or do you keep them forever?
Traded them in when I was younger. As I got older, I became a pack rat, and now I keep them all. And also the trade-in value is almost never worth it, so I'd much rather just put them on a shelf and never touch them, and look at them from time to time and go, I like that.
Ever buy a console specifically to play one game?
Yeah. Xbox 360, Halo 3. Actually bought the game before I owned the console. I was big into Halo back then, and all my friends were playing it. We did a lot of LAN parties back in the day, so we needed another Xbox. So, yeah, it's the only time I've ever done that, though.
Ever make a TV or monitor purchase based on what would be the best for gaming?
No, not really. I would just look up what's the best for everything in general. The closest thing would have been back in the PS3 era when I finally bought an HD TV because game text was becoming unreadable on SD TVs. So I guess that counts as making a purchase just for gaming.
Do you have any happy gaming-related childhood memories?
I know when I first got my PS2, my parents made a deal with me that if I could save up enough money for a brand new game, that they would buy me the console. Obviously, I was pretty young, so saving up like $80 for a game was a big deal. And I saved up and bought Final Fantasy X-2, which I know a lot of people will say oof to that game, but I like that game, and it was a good purchase.
What is the greatest game ever made?
I mean, that's a tough question. If you're talking about my personal favorite, I don't really know. That's a tough one too. Probably Kingdom Hearts 1. I really like that game. But the greatest game ever made, like objectively, probably Minecraft.
What is the first game you ever beat?
I think Super Punch-Out. I know there's a couple games for the NES that I played, and a couple of other games for the Super Nintendo I played, but I don't really remember beating any of them other than Super Punch-Out. So I think it was Super Punch-Out. And I guess that is all of the questions. Now, y'all know me a little better, I guess.
Baba booey, baba booey.